You want carbon fiber inside your headlights? Really? Okay, let's talk about it. What up, welcome back. I'm Chris and we're at FlyRyde, where I'm gonna talk about the what, how, and why of custom automotive lighting. Why would you ever spend a ton of money on carbon fiber, real carbon fiber, if you're gonna have a lot of problems? Problem number one, of course, is just price. You know, if you're gonna spend thousands of dollars on something custom, you want it to last, you don't want it to cause other problems, right? But what if I told you that by getting something that's real, like it's the good thing, it's gonna stain the lens inside of a headlight, it's gonna lift over time, it's gonna discolor, and if you're lucky, it might fit decent. I had to pay thousands of dollars for a couple jobs to get done, and I waited for this stuff to be done all the way in Chicago, across the country, because that's where the specialists were, that only they can do a good job. Now, big props to carbon guys that work through it, because it's a very difficult art. It takes a lot of patience and a ton of time, and I guarantee you that if you're doing carbon parts as a side hustle, you are killing yourself for every penny that you make. Definitely don't think it's a good business to be in. Now, these particular parts were the ones from Chicago, and because of the limitations of real carbon, we have a mixture of paint and real carbon fiber work. But if you can see, this whole part right here, what's carbon? Just that tiny little strip right there. That's it. A tiny little piece, and then it goes back right into paint. All right, that took forever, and then check this out. Within a year of this thing being done, look at that delaminating. It's just lifting up. The dude didn't wrap it around the edges. I don't know. It just sucks, because it was beautiful. And now it looks bad. Same deal with the upper turn signal section. It was beautiful, but because of the limitations of carbon, all of this stuff just had to end up being painted gloss black so that it would at least look good with the carbon, but that barely showed up. This is actually just a carbon fiber hydro dip, and there's multiple different weaves, options you can do. Actually, that customer didn't get this exact print. He actually got one that was darker so that it could match other stuff that was carbon dip on his GTR. So let's go back in time and pretend that right now I'm walking out the door the day that I originally did when I was going over to Jim's and I was wearing a tank top. All right, we're going to Jim's. We are going to see a whole new process of doing the GTR headlights. So this is gonna be a really custom carbon fiber look, and all we're gonna do is film what we've got going ahead of time before he actually dips the parts, and then what they look like after they're all said and done. He's gonna do a little dark tint job on them. So we're here, let's go. Hello. Hello. I'm here to crash your party. Carbon fibers are there?
There's at least 100 different patterns.
Dang.
Not all of them are as nice,
right,
well behaved. What I tell people is there's 3 criteria. Number 1, it's got to be easy to use. Number 2, it's got to be easy to touch up. And 3rd, you want them all to be at least 1 meter wide. You know, you can always cut it down, but you can't add to it.
Got it.
So this particular carbon fiber, in a dark or a shadow, it lays down. It's like very subtle,
right? But
because of the silver that's in the paint, once you get it out into the sunlight, it really pops. The metallic in the silver goes off.
Right.
We're gonna turn one set 90 degrees.
Right.
So what'll happen is your carbon fibers will look like this together, or they'll look like this.
Yep.
But the sure sign of somebody who doesn't know what they're doing is when the carbon fiber, you look at a car and it's got mirrors and the carbon fiber's going the same way.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know, making it look nice. Let's figure
only
out.
work with gangsters.
Yep. So, all right, I'm gonna turn off the tank and set my dam.
Strange brew is what we're used to. Get high all night, that's me and you. Run away to the sunset. Run away with the skyline far behind. Strange brew is meant for me and you.
That's a good hit.
Jim's a gangster.
When you come out, it's all uniform. The reason that you go in at a steady angle is you're working the air out of the dip. If you go in flat like that and you trap air, every place that you trap air, it's not going to allow the film to bite into the paint. So what makes our stuff a lot nicer than regular carbon fiber is the simple fact that it's a factory part. So when you pull a factory part off and you put a coating on it, it fits when you put it back in.
That's so sick. This is where I come in and I say, are you liking this? Are you learning anything? Because if you are, definitely subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification icon so that you don't miss the new uploads. And I never talk about this, and I'm gonna start talking about it. If you watch the video and you love it, but you don't hit like and you don't subscribe, then the channel doesn't look to YouTube, the robot, the brain, like it's doing any good for anybody. When you watch and you give me those thumbs up, like it literally impacts my kids. Like it puts food on the table. Anything that you guys are doing here on the channel, it really helps. And that's super annoying, but you got it, right? So this is the very first set of lights I've built that has hydro dipped internal parts, and I think it's pretty sick.
You and I, we're always on the edge. We fight and make love at the same time. Would you break up just because I told you?
So number one rule before I ever ship out a custom set of lights, especially a one-off, something I've never done before, we gotta go shoot them in the photography room. So these lights have everything that we built inside all consolidated down to 2 plugs. We've got one for the strobe and we've got one for the color changing. Everything else is all hooked up to be plug and play with the stock connector. Now this is what you have to have if you want to have all of those functions be able to work on the car. We've made it really simple for the shop that's gonna do this install by putting together this harness, and I'm gonna break it down and show you what it's consisting of. All right, so like mini wire harnesses, it looks scary, right? But if we untwist this thing, we're gonna find that everything kind of has a pretty straightforward use. So we actually have a couple different boxes here. And when we have these things in the engine bay, they're gonna be in a way where they're accessible, but they're not just all over the place. So we can stack them, or we can do them in any arrangement to where they fit. Because there's different components, we're able to move them around. All right, so if we look at this, we have a couple different things. This is our main power source. So this thing's gonna hook up to power and ground at the battery, and then it's gonna control everything else just by sending power to it. So this can live inside the car, you push a button, it turns everything on. This is the strobe controller, and that is gonna power 3 of these wires. So we've got ground, left, and right headlight, and that's gonna make the lights bounce left to right. And then we have the power and ground for the XK Chrome unit. So this is gonna control all of the color changing. It sends power and ground through this little connection that is a 4-wire RGB connection, and it's gonna go all the way down along with the strobe wires. So just like the guys that are gonna install this on the car at the shop, I have to lay this thing out when I put it in the photo booth so that I can check everything. That gives me testing, and it gives me an awesome chance to get the cool video and pictures I'm gonna take right now.
Release me, I'm moving on. Feel the speed of my ride. No worries, no more, oh no. Here's your bitter goodbye.
So nothing's gonna delaminate here. And obviously we have that issue here. You have a little bit more of like a 3D look to these, which I'm guessing could probably be accomplished with a just, I don't know, much thicker clear coat on something like this. But that's not real and that's not full carbon. But you tell me, is it worth it? Personally, I'm a big fan of just the standard satin black on all headlights. That's what these lights are getting, and that's what these lights are getting. So, I don't know. I just like black. It's simple. It's way less expensive, and there's nothing that's gonna go wrong over time. So carbon fiber is not anything necessary. It doesn't do anything good for you. It just looks a certain way. So if it's not about performance and it's not about strength or anything like that, it doesn't matter if it's an actual real carbon fiber weave with a clear coat and epoxy and all that stuff, or if it's a dip with clear coat on top. Tell me what you think below. I don't really have a stance on this. All I care is that whoever gets their lights done custom gets them the way that they like it, because that's who's paying for it. So that's the only person that really matters.
You and I, we're always on the edge. We fight and make love at the same